I stepped out of work and my 2024 Corolla, paid off just days ago, was missing. Panicked, I called Mom. She said, "Relax, we gave it to Bryan. He needs it more." My younger brother had already totaled 2 cars in 3 years. This was my first brand new car. I hung up and called 911. I swear, some days it feels like I've spent my entire adult life cleaning up messes, literally and figuratively. But the day I walked out to an empty parking spot, the one where my brand new, paid-off car should have been, that's when I finally understood that the biggest mess wasn't the one on the roof. It was the gaping, ugly hole my own family had carved into my trust. So hey, my name's Lance. I'm 31, and I've been a roofer since I was 19. Yeah, I'm that guy, the one who's always there at 5:30 a.m., coffee in a thermos, nails in a pouch, and a lower back that frankly sounds like a bag of popcorn when I stand up. I'm the oldest, the one who always figures it out. You know, if a shingle flies off in a storm, I'm up there before sunrise. And if someone in my family suddenly runs out of rent money, somehow, I'm the one pulling an extra job and wiring it to them by Friday. I remember it like yesterday. I was leaving this small-town strip mall job, you know, the kind with a nail salon, a tax place, and a church renting out the old Dollar Tree. The midday sun was just baking the asphalt, making those white lines look almost fresh. I walked out in my dust-caked boots, my shoulders still buzzing from the compressor, already thinking about the ham sandwich waiting in my cooler. Then I stopped. My parking spot was just empty. I blinked, stupidly. You know that moment, when your brain pulls the absolutely wrong file first. I actually thought, did I park on the other side? I pivoted, scanning the rows, but there was nothing. No silver 2024 Corolla. No shiny new car, the one I had that paid in full email starred in my inbox for. No little dent on the rear bumper I'd been meaning to fix. No magnetic strip with my company name stuck on the side. That's when the bottom of my stomach just dropped. I hit the key fob. Nothing. I even crouched down, like maybe my car was just hiding behind a pickup. "Hey, you good, Lance?" My helper, Mateo, called from the roof edge. Yeah, I lied, my thumb already dialing. Who do you call in an emergency? Your mom, right? It's just this primal reflex they train into you from birth. She picked up, all cheerful. "Hey honey, you at work?" I didn't even try to soften it. "My car's gone," I blurted. "It's not here. Did it get towed? Did I do something?" And then, her voice, so casual it made my blood boil. "Oh, son. Relax." Like I was overreacting at a salad bar. "We gave it to Bryan. He needs it more." Gave it. I just stood there, staring at that shimmering hot rectangle of asphalt where my 4 tires should have been. My jaw actually clicked. "You what?" "Don't be dramatic, Lance. He had that job interview. His old one was totaled. Remember? Because he totaled it." My voice, I could hear it, just flattening out. "Where are the keys? How did he even?" "You keep a spare in the junk drawer," she said, still annoyingly casual. "Bryan knows where things are. He took my car, Mom. I just paid it off." "Don't worry," she insisted. "He'll bring it back after he lands something stable. We're all pitching in for family right now." "Family," I repeated, the word tasting like ash, like it was coming out of someone else's mouth. "Don't be selfish, Lance. He's your brother." She said it like a line she'd rehearsed in front of a mirror, ready for this exact moment. I hung up before the absolute heat inside me boiled over, and I said something I couldn't take back. Then, I did the only thing you can do when a crime is fresh and your heartbeat won't slow. I dialed 911. I gave my name. I gave my plate. I said it wasn't borrowed. I said, very clearly, I did not consent. And while the dispatcher read back the report number, that damn sun just kept baking that empty spot, like it was daring me to blink first. You know, people think roofers are dumb, until their living room ceiling starts bleeding rainwater. We measure twice, cut once, and we live by those invoices. That car, that silver Corolla, that was my first anything brand new. No salvage title. No, oh, it just needs a little work. No, I'll fix the AC later. I'd been driving clunkers since high school, rebuilding alternators on milk crates, practically counting quarters at gas stations just to fill the tank. I promised myself I'd buy new once I paid off Mom's lingering medical bill from the year she ignored her blood pressure and ended up in urgent care. Then I had to help patch up Bryan's mess when he borrowed a friend's motorcycle and skidded it into a guardrail. Then I covered 3 months of rent when the landlord threatened to evict them because Bryan lost hours again. It took me 12 years to finally give myself permission to sign on for a showroom car. 12 years of leaning off ladders, sun lines permanently etched onto my forearms, tar freckles that just don't scrub out. I walked into that dealership, handed over a down payment that was essentially a stack of my summers, and told the guy, simple base model. Reliable. He asked if I wanted the premium sound system. I looked him straight in the eye and said, no. I want a car I don't have to explain to a tow truck. And you know what? My family. They didn't clap. Mom said, that's a lot for a Corolla. Dad asked if I could swing by and look at the garage door on my way home. And Bryan? Bryan texted, sick wheels, man. I could definitely use it sometimes. Bryan, my brother, he's 26. He can be charming, sure, but he's a magnet for completely avoidable problems. He's totaled 2 cars in 3 years. The first was this faded Civic he apparently drove with the oil light on for, and I quote, a while. The second was a hand-me-down SUV he flipped into a ditch on a rainy night because, according to him, tires are a conspiracy. He never gets hurt, just walks away with a new story about bad luck and hater cops. Bryan doesn't like roofs, or any real work for that matter. He likes fast money. He sells used junk on Marketplace and calls it resale. He buys shoes with little plastic tags and calls them investments. When he needs gas, he calls me. When he wants to float a week, he calls me. And when rent is due and the landlord's knocking, Mom calls me. It's always the same script, like they're reading from a teleprompter. Lance, be a team player. Lance, you don't have kids, it's easier for you. Lance, you're the stable one. What they really meant was they relied on me financially more than was remotely fair. And it's not like I didn't help. I helped until my own checking account wheezed. I covered power bills. I even bought Bryan 4 new tires because, according to his YouTube law degree, bald isn't illegal. I once fronted him $600 for a forklift certification. He never finished it. Every single time, I told myself, okay, this is it. I'm investing in getting him off my back. And every single time, I was wrong. All those small things. They started piling up, literally, in their junk drawer. That drawer became a roadmap of how my family treated me. My spare key. My spare fob. The title envelope from the DMV, with my name, my VIN, my quiet little victory. Mom knew exactly what was in that drawer. I'd left it at their house by accident after changing their deadbolt. She said she'd keep it safe. And I believed her, because, God, I still wanted to. Just 2 months before all this blew up, Bryan showed up at my place. I was restriping some tools, and he just let himself in with the key I'd given Mom for actual emergencies. Bro, he said, plopping down on my couch, elbows on his knees like he was about to give me a halftime pep talk. I got a lead at this last-mile warehouse gig. Early mornings, union later. I just need wheels for a couple weeks. You know how it is. No, I said flatly. I don't do couple weeks. Don't be like that, he whined. You don't even drive it to jobs. You take the work truck. That car is mine, I said, making sure every single syllable hit home. He just rolled his eyes. You got 2 vehicles, basically. What I wanted to say was, I have 1 vehicle, and it took me 36 payments to make it 0. But I just shook my head and went back to sorting my roofing knives. He left in a huff, muttering something about how families changed you. That night, the group chat absolutely lit up. Family only was the title, of course. Mom, Lance, your brother asked so nicely. Dad, share like we taught you. Bryan, guess you forgot who looked out for you when you got dumped senior year. He'd once given me a ride to Denny's. That was his version of looking out. I just muted the chat. Work stayed steady, thank God. Summer storms, insurance checks. People need roofs, no matter who shows up at their weddings. I stacked cash, paid off that Corolla early, and took a picture of the loan-satisfied letter on my kitchen table, next to a coffee ring. I didn't post it. I just stared at it, like it was a ticket out of some never-ending loop. And then came the empty parking spot day. You don't feel rage first. No, you just feel utterly stupid. Like, how did I not see this coming? How could I have left that spare key there? Why didn't I switch the hiding place? I called Mom, desperate for her to say, we messed up, son. Instead, she repeated it, her voice annoyingly calm. We gave it to Bryan. He needs it more. That word, gave, it just lodged in my teeth, sharp and bitter. My name was on the title. My insurance was paid up. My plate was my plate. I pictured Bryan, chirping the alarm on my fob, tossing my ice scraper in the back, adjusting my seat to his ridiculous laid-back style, a cloud of cheap cologne filling my cloth seats. Don't go crazy, Lance, Mom added, her voice suddenly syrupy. It's all in the family. It's theft, I said, each word precise. She clicked her tongue, like I'd cursed in church. Don't talk like that. After I hung up, my phone started buzzing, a barrage of texts. Bryan, Ryan, chill, man. I'll bring it back Monday. Need it for a thing. Mom, do not call the police on your own brother. Dad, if you make a scene, don't come to dinner Sunday. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, but I went back to the roof, finished flashing the chimney. I told Mateo to close out the day. He asked if I wanted him to drive me home. No, I said. I'll work it out. I told him I wasn't stranded. It sounded brave. And, to be honest, a little dumb at the same time. At home, the image of that junk drawer was burned into my mind. I drove the company truck straight to my parents' house. I went right for that drawer. The spare fob? Gone. The title envelope? Slid open, empty. Mom, I said, holding up the paper husk, barely able to speak. She didn't even look guilty. She was just calmly slicing zucchini. Don't be dramatic, she waved me off. We needed the VIN to add Bryan to the insurance. My insurance? You added him to my insurance? I asked, my voice thin. That's fraud. Stop using scary words, she snapped. Bryan is family. I looked at Dad, silently begging for backup. He just kept sipping his beer, glued to the local news, as if the weather was the only crisis in the world. Lance, Mom tried, her voice softening, switching tactics. You know your brother. If he doesn't have a car, he gets into trouble. Help him stay on track. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just stared at that empty title envelope, the cheap paper fibers shedding onto my calluses, and felt that junk drawer in my chest, the one where I'd kept all my family hopes, slam violently shut. I went quiet for 12 hours. And honestly, that worried them more than if I'd yelled. I didn't yell. I didn't shout. I went quiet. For 12 hours. And during that time, I filed the police report. I gave them the plate, the VIN. I sent the insurance company a written statement. I did not authorize anyone to drive my car. I screenshotted every single text. I printed the loan release. I put everything, into a bright yellow folder, like I was my own paralegal, preparing for court. Then, Sunday dinner. I walked in. They were all there. Mom, Dad, Bryan, even Aunt Deb, who always takes whoever's loudest side. Plate settings, pot roast simmering, football murmuring on the TV. Mom greeted me like nothing had happened. Sit. We waited for you. I didn't sit. Instead, I set that yellow folder on the table, right next to the gravy boat. Where's my car? I asked, my voice steady. Bryan smirked. Man, you're really doing a whole thing, huh? Keys, I said, cutting him off. He leaned back, hands up, an arrogant half-smile. You calling the cops on blood now? That's wild. Aunt Deb clucked. Lance, don't ruin dinner. I opened the folder. Slowly. Deliberately. Report number. 911 call log. Screenshot of Mom's text. We gave it to Bryan. My loan title release, with my name. My insurance policy. If you drive it, Bryan, and get pulled over, that's on you. If you hit someone. He actually laughed. I'm not gonna hit someone. Chill. I just stared at him. And I kept staring, until that smirk cracked. You totaled 2 cars. That was different, he mumbled. Mom's voice sharpened. Lance, you're embarrassing us. I looked at her. You opened my title envelope. You took my spare key. You added Bryan to my insurance without my permission. She flushed, her composure finally breaking a little. Dad finally put his beer down. We said he'd bring it back Monday, he offered weakly. No, I said. You said you gave it to him. Silence. The TV crowd roared for a touchdown, like background applause for this insane drama. Bryan pushed back from the table, his chair scraping loudly. This is punishment because I asked to borrow it, and you said no. You've always had a control problem. That's when I felt it. The click inside me. The one that said, we're done here. I'm not your bank, I said, looking him dead in the eye. I'm not your backup plan. I am not your spare car. You're selfish. Mom shot back, predictably. You make good money. He's trying. I opened the folder again, laying down more paper like cards in a game I was finally willing to play. Payment receipts. My new car contract. Even a photo of my hands, black with tar from a July re-roof where the shingles had melted together like candy. I didn't raise my voice. I just stacked proof. Bryan flicked his eyes over the pile. Still boring, he scoffed. Okay, I said. Then here's something interesting. I pulled out the last sheet. A letter from my bank, which I'd requested that very morning, confirming the only authorized drivers. It also stated that my account wasn't linked to anyone else's policy. Then I added a printout of the group chat where Mom had explicitly written, "Do not call the police." I looked each of them in the face. You can call me dramatic. You can call me selfish. You can call me boring. But the paper says theft. The dispatch record says stolen vehicle. The insurance says do not drive. You've always liked stories. This is the one that will exist if anything happens. You took my car. Mom's mouth opened and closed, like a fish gasping for air she couldn't control. Dad stared at the gravy. Bryan scoffed again. You won't go through with it. You're not built like that. And then, like a cue from a bad sitcom, there was a knock at the front door. We all froze. Too gentle for a neighbor. Too official. Dad stood up slowly, looking over at me. Did you? I made a report, I said. At the door were two officers. Polite. Calm. They asked for Bryan. They asked where the vehicle was. Bryan blustered. But it's hard to bluff when your name is already sitting there in a black notebook. It's around the block, he finally mumbled, sullen. I was going to bring it back. We walked out together. The evening was blue and thin. My Corolla sat crooked on the curb, my company magnet peeled halfway off, like it was trying to escape too. There was a vape in the cup holder and a fast food bag smearing mayo on my passenger seat. My stomach lurched. The officers read back the report number. They were professional, not dramatic. One looked at me. Do you want to press charges, sir? Everyone's eyes swung to me like theater lights. My mom hissed, don't you dare. Bryan folded his arms. Say it. I looked at the car, then at my family. I thought about 12 years of cheap apologies and expensive favors. My mouth felt paper dry. I swallowed. I wanted impounded for evidence. I said, my voice clear. And I want documentation that I did not consent. Bryan's face went from that cocky smirk to utterly cornered. Mom started full-on crying. Dad sputtered about me overreacting. Aunt Deb just muttered, I regret this. Maybe. But seeing that car, my car, handled officially, right there in front of everyone, it made me feel finally, truly safe. The group chat? It went absolutely nuclear that night. Mom, we are horrified. Dad, you humiliated your mother. Bryan, you really reported it? Aunt Deb, this is disappointing. Even Cousin Maddie, who usually just posts dog pics, weighed in. Lance. I didn't answer. I was too busy with the boring things that actually save lives. I changed the address on my DMV file. I added a password to my insurance. I moved my new spare key to a safe box at the shop. And I scheduled a full detail for the Corolla, because if I had to smell Bryan's vape for one more second, I swear, I was going to torch the upholstery. The car sat in impound for 2 days. The officer called to confirm it matched my report. No damage. It was returned to me with a receipt and a sort of bureaucratic calm. Paper stacks. Paper matters. Back at work, I felt this strange mix of lighter and angrier all at the same time. Carrying bundles of shingles up a ladder, I thought about every single time I'd said, yeah, I can help, while my own laundry piled up and my oil change went overdue. Mateo noticed I was quiet. He asked if everything was okay. It's finally accurate, I told him. The phone didn't stop ringing. Mom switched from pure rage to strategy. If you unimpound it quickly, nobody has to know. Dad tried logic. You made your point, son. Don't drag this out. Bryan oscillated between mockery. Bet you felt big with your little folder, huh? And actual threats. Fine. I'll just tell everyone you hit me when we were kids, and that's why I'm like this. That last one, that actually made me laugh out loud. Right there on a roof ridge, under a sky that frankly didn't care one bit about our family myths. I didn't post about any of it online. No subtweets, no passive-aggressive memes. I did real life. I showed up at a widow's house with a tarp after an overnight storm and refused her attempt to pay me in cookies. I helped the church replace their steeple flashing and made sure they didn't get fleeced by some slick talker. I took a Saturday and completely rebuilt my toolbox, like I was resetting an old house, one room at a time. Then, the money stuff started shaking out. Mom texted, we put Bryan on your insurance because the premium is lower with your good driver discount. We'll transfer him to his own next month. No, I typed back. Take him off today. You're being impossible, she replied. Do it, or I file a fraud claim against whoever added him. She called me an ungrateful so-and-so. I sent her the screenshot of the insurer confirming the removal. I watched the read receipt pop up. Then, silence. Sunday used to be family dinner. That day, I went to the shop instead. I changed the oil in the company truck while an oldie station played on the radio, and the smell of hot metal felt cleaner than any living room. Mateo swung by with tacos. We ate them on overturned buckets. He told me about his daughter's science fair, how they grew crystals in a jar. I told him about paperwork. We both just laughed at how adulthood is really just about choosing your paperwork. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my aunt, who literally never calls. Your mother's upset, she started. Bryan can't get to work. Oh, where does he work? I asked. A pause. Huh? Somewhere with forklifts. Then his employer has a bus route, or he can bike, I said. You're cold, she accused. I'm warm to people who don't steal from me. That line surprised even me. It sounded like someone who had practiced it in the mirror and was finally proud. And then, things shifted. Not dramatically, like a sudden earthquake, but more subtly, like furniture being moved in the night. Dad stopped texting me to fix his garage door. 3 days later, he sent a photo of it held up with a broom handle and duct tape. Mom posted a long Facebook rant about the dangers of outsiders who turn brothers against brothers. It got 6 likes, all from her friends who post minion memes. Bryan posted a selfie with a rental car, captioned, "Haters don't stop the grind." 2 days after that, the rental company called me because my number was on an old emergency contact form. I told them, very politely, not to call here again. Then came the thing I didn't expect at all. My sister Tasha, who moved 3 states away to be a nurse and generally keeps her head down, called me on a Wednesday night. We don't talk much. Not because we don't like each other, but because if you grow up in a house where noise is currency, silence becomes therapy. You okay? She asked, her voice soft. Yeah, I said. Better. She exhaled, a long, shaky breath. I saw Mom's post. I also saw the group chat before she deleted half the messages. I didn't respond. Tasha cleared her throat. When I left, nobody celebrated. They said I abandoned family. But I left because I was paying for everything and doing all the chores, and Bryan kept borrowing my car. You just did something I couldn't. You named it. Silence. The good kind. It just floated between us. I'm proud of you, she said, her voice small, honest. You won't hear that from them. I sat on my porch with my boots unlaced, watching a stray cat decide whether my steps were safe enough to approach. The word proud just climbed into my chest, warm and unexpected, like a light switching on in a back hallway I hadn't known was dark. The very next week, the Real fallout hit. Mom and Dad had relied on me for all these little, invisible things. Their streaming passwords, their phone plan, the pest control renewal, even a car insurance autopay I'd set up for them years ago because late fees kept eating them alive. So, I started unwinding it all. I emailed the carrier to remove myself from their family plan. I changed my Hulu. I called the pest company to put their account squarely in their names. Mom sent me a furious paragraph. You turned off our shows. Your father couldn't watch the game. I typed back. You can add your own payment method. You're punishing us, she wailed. I'm not subsidizing you, I replied. She called me cheap. She told me no one would take care of me when I was old. She told me money had made me arrogant. I told her, very simply, boundaries have made me calm. Bryan's spiral got noisy. He called me from a borrowed number. You got my car impounded. You owe me. No, I said. I owe myself. You think you're better than me? I think I'm done. I don't feel connected to you right now. Or my family. I said, and hung up. The phrase felt a little corny, honestly, but it was perfect. Work somehow got better. Or maybe it was always this good, and I just finally had the headspace to feel it. The owner of the supply yard pulled me aside one day. Heard you handled some mess clean, he said, and offered me a better discount tier. One of our older customers sent a pie for the tall man with the kind eyes who fixed my leak in the rain. Mateo ate half. Fair. I even started running again in the evenings. Not far, just 2 miles along the creek trail. My knees complained the first week, then they stopped, and I started sleeping without my jaw clenched. In the middle of all this, Dad showed up at my place, completely unannounced. He stood on my porch in his baseball cap, looking completely lost, like he'd accidentally ended up at the wrong house. You made your point, he said, his voice low. Your mother's been crying. I'm sure she has, I replied, keeping my voice neutral. You don't have to be cruel, he pushed. I'm not, I told him. I'm consistent. He shifted his weight. He'd never had to negotiate with me directly before. He'd always had Mom to do the dirty work. He took off his cap, put it back on. Bryan, he's having a tough time. Bryan created a tough time, I corrected. Dad's eyes sharpened. You think you're better because you hammered nails and bought a car? I think I'm responsible for what I buy, I said, holding his gaze. And I'm done paying for things I didn't buy. He stared at me for a long second, like I was speaking some alien language he absolutely refused to learn. Then, he nodded once, tight-lipped, and left. He didn't slam the door. That felt new. And then, surprisingly, small kindnesses started coming from the oddest corners. The dispatcher who'd taken my 911 call actually mailed me a copy of the incident report with a sticky note. Keep this with your records. The tow guy knocked a little off the impound fee, muttering, family mess ain't your fault. The detail shop vacuumed every last fry crumb from the back, and I tipped him like a man who had just reclaimed square footage in his life. A month later, Tasha texted me a screenshot. Mom had actually written a long Facebook post about boundaries and respect after Bryan missed 2 days of babysitting her neighbor's kid, and the neighbor completely cut them off. The post, honestly, accidentally sounded like therapy. People commented supportive things. Mom replied with heart emojis. Tasha added, I'm telling you, something cracked. Maybe just a little. I didn't celebrate. I don't believe in overnight conversions. But I did notice the calls from Mom got shorter, less demands, more weather updates. Dad even sent me a photo of the garage door, fixed properly, tracks clean, no broom handle. He didn't ask me to clap. I didn't need him to. I took the Corolla for a long drive that Sunday morning. Early roads empty, coffee in the cup holder, radio low. I rolled the windows down and let the smell of dew and asphalt and 100 summer roofs fill the car. My car. Mine because I worked for it. Mine because I said so, on paper and out loud. I wish I could tell you it ended with everyone hugging and a big, emotional reunion. It didn't. The truth was smaller. And better. I finally learned the difference between a crisis and a pattern. The crisis? An empty parking spot. The pattern? A family treating my hard work like a community chest, always unlocked by my brother. The crisis made me dial 911. Naming the pattern? That changed me. At the impound lot, the clerk slid my keys across the counter. You good? He asked. Yeah, I said. And I was. Since then, I keep a yellow folder. Registration, insurance, receipts, boundaries, all clearly defined, so my life doesn't hinge on anyone's mood. Bryan still lobs grenade texts. I answer with one word. No. Mom still tries to start the old script. I say love you, not discussing, and hang up. Dad is still awkward. Sometimes he drops off a rusty mower. I don't even have grass. Fine. The best change, though? It's boring. My boots, a soap-smelling car, roofs, dinner. Tasha sends me cat pics. I send her pictures of clouds. Guilt still noses around sometimes, like a stray cat. But I leave the porch light on, and I let it pass. Because family doesn't outrank ownership. It doesn't outrank safety. And it absolutely doesn't outrank self-respect. Love knocks. But I lost a parking spot, and I found a line. I won't cross it. And I won't let anyone else either.